What's going on, everybody? This is Bobby G back again with a new episode of Bobby's Book Review. Hopefully, we'll be able to do this 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, and then, of course, Saturday is my Saturday spiel, and then Sunday is just kind of my day off from putting videos up. That's just one day I take a day for a day of rest. That being said, let's just jump into it. The new book for today is Drop Out and Get Schooled, The Case for Thinking Twice About College by Patrick Bet-David with Thomas and Ellsworth. It is by his own company, which is Valuetainment Publishing. If you get a chance, sidebar, check out Patrick Bet-David's page, as well as his YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. As well as the page for Valuetainment, because there's a lot of nuggets and a lot of interesting information that you can learn on that page as you go. That being said, this particular book has a lot of questions that he asks and answers. He gives a fair warning on the back. He says, "Fair warning, you may have passionate feelings about the points in this book. Regardless of how strong you feel one way or another, my desired outcome is to start a broad dialogue so we can process the issue together. Ready?" And he asks a lot of questions. He makes a point of saying he's read over 1,200 books in the last 15 years and believes that there are many paths we can take to get educated and do great things. This book was published not too long ago in 2017, so it's only been a few years out. It's not a very big book, as you can see. It's actually pretty thin if you're looking for something that is a quick read, but also very loaded. This is a book you can get. And he asks a lot of particular questions. I mean, why do we go to college? Who should go? Who should go? Who should not go? Before you drop out, some things to consider. What should be added to college? How to process your decision. A simple conversation. What now? And then he gives, interestingly, on page 117 of this book, he gives what's called the Dropout Hall of Fame. And I will tell you that it's quite an interesting list. Paul Allen, Richard Branson, which for those of you who don't know who Richard Branson is, he's part of the Virgin Company, Virgin Mobile, Virgin Airlines, all that. Larry Ellison, who is started the Oracle Corporation. David Geffen, which is founded Asylum Records, Geffen Records, and DreamWorks, which is a film company. Michael Dell, founder of the Dell computer. It's a load here. You got David Karp, who founded Tumblr. Golly. He has a large stake in some of the most prestigious hotels in Vegas, which include the MGM Grand, the Excalibur, the Luxor, the Mandalay Bay, and the Mirage. Zuckerberg, and Travis Kalanick. Travis Kalanick, for those of you who don't know, he's the one who founded Uber. But it's a very interesting book. It's a very interesting book indeed. To give you some background on Patrick Bet-David, he's originally from Iran. He's of Armenian and Syrian descent. His parents fled with him from the country of Iran in 1988 after the Iranian Revolution and the war between Iran and Iraq, because he was born in 1978, so the Shah and Mossadegh were still in power. And one of the things he says in this book is he believes that 70% of students who are in college right now should drop out, except for those who are in a STEM program, which for those of you who don't know STEM, it stands for science, technology, engineering, and medicine. If you're in any one of those four fields, which there's a lot of crossover, you should definitely go and get your post-secondary education after high school. He also makes the point in this book where he thinks everyone should go to K-2 through 12 school, and get a basic education, although he thinks there are some classes that should be dropped and some that should be added. And, it's in his chapter on what should be added or what should be taken out, what should be added on page 87, he goes on and he makes a few listings of what he thinks should be added to college. And, you know, it's interesting. I mean, he talks about STEM programs. He thinks that increased education on life subjects that everyone will face should be added, such as marriage, seeking a job, how to do a job interview. It's a lot of soft skills except for marriage. That's something else. Leadership skills, taxes, politics, and things like that. And, you know, it should be, obviously, in regard to politics, it should be nonpartisan to try and teach the whole gamut. The things that he thinks that should be eliminated is interesting. You know, it's just so many things. It's just so many things. But what he says is parenting classes should be taught, individual income taxes and money, the importance of voting, politics from both sides, key, leadership, and he also says trade schools, which a lot of tech schools do that. And he also talks about online education. He also talks about how classes in coding, computer coding should be added because computer coding critically teaches you to think. But yeah, it's interesting. It's very interesting because, and he makes his case of why 70% should drop out, and he thinks of what should be eliminated, what should be added as some of the classes that I've just brought up. He also makes a point with regards to the question about have colleges simply become a big tax-free business? Because if you think about it, especially the question that comes before that, which is why do tuition and textbooks cost as much as they do? I mean, you got to figure, like, we are over $1 trillion in debt just with regards to education alone. Over $1 trillion in debt. That's a lot. My question is why? Why are we so much in debt? Why do books cost so much? And I think that's something that needs to be investigated. I mean, he even, at the top of the back of the book, he even says that I will make a case for why I believe 70% of college students should drop out. The concept of giving our trust to the educational system without accountability has not worked. And I believe it's time to ask some serious questions, which that's another thing he brings up in this book, is that, you know, there's been no accountability in the educational system, and I would concur with that as someone who's both been to a tech school or tech college and a university. Whether you agree with what he has to say or whether you don't agree with what he has to say, I still think it's worth checking out because I think, as he's made the case for it, that we really need to reevaluate where the educational system is at today and where it should be going. And I've even had a friend recently from whose family came here from a communist country, from a different part of the world, who would also make the statement that there needs to be a huge overhaul of the education system in a major way. Because it seems, with very few exceptions, certainly from my experience, that there are very few teachers who use the Socratic method and teach their students to think anymore. At least the professors that I've encountered. But it's your decision. I would say read this book. You know, go through the chapters. See what you think about what he says about 70% of college students should probably drop out. Is it at college now a tax-free business? Are the subjects in college sufficient for life? Or do we need to change things? And he makes that argument, as I said earlier, that some things need to change. Whether you agree with that, whether you disagree with it, I would just say come with an open mind, assume nothing as you read the book, and make your own decisions. And by reading this whole book, that way at least you can make an informed decision rather than just going off of what you've heard from other people or other opinions. You could actually read the book yourself. And like I said, it's not a big book. It's not a big book. It's only, what? A little over 100 pages? 127 pages total. So it's not very short. It's not very long. So just all I'm asking is make sure you inform yourself on this subject. I think in light of COVID and all that's going on, I think that we really need to start reevaluating the educational system, especially with some of the changes that are coming down the pipe, whether it's in the state of Wisconsin where I live or whether it's in other parts of the country. That's just my 2 cents. Like I said, go get the book. Subscribe to his Valuetainment channel if you can look it up. And this has been Bobby's Book Review. First episode of the week out the gate, and hopefully more to come. Take care. Peace.